According to Barsim and Monahan's Looking at Movies, there are three kinds of films: narrative, documentary, and experimental. Narrative films are further classified into genres, which are categorizations based on the stories that the films tell, as well as their storytelling methods. There are six major American genres, which include gangster, film noir, sci-fi, horror, western, and musical. Today, we will be looking specifically at the western genre. Inspired by American history, the western genre deals with spectacular adventures of cowboys, outlaws, pioneers, adventurers, and many other important western figures. A major theme in most western films is civilization versus wilderness. Also, most western films take place in the daylight, and most of their shots are outdoors. Some examples of important western films include The Great Train Robbery, a film from 1903, No Country for Old Men, a film from 2007, as well as Little Big Man, which we will be looking at today. Little Big Man, released in 1970, was directed by Arthur Penn, and was released primarily as a response to the Vietnam War. Little Big Man has many Western conventions, such as character types, setting, story formula, and themes, all of which we will be looking at throughout. First, we will be looking at character types. TV Tropes lists many specific character types which are commonly used in Western films. We will be using these types to define the different characters throughout Little Big Man. Jack Crabb, the main character in the movie, falls into many different character types, although this is an essential part of the movie. Some of which he falls into include White Man Gone Native as well as Gunslinger. Thrust into a Cheyenne tribe at 10 years old, Jack grows up learning many of the Native Americans' ways. Unlike most films, though, that include a white man gone native, Jack is recaptured by the U.S. cavalry and is forced to renounce his Indian ways. Next, Old Lodgeskins falls into the category of a noble Indian. He is the kind-hearted leader of the Cheyenne tribe that captures Jack when he is 10 years old. Old Lodgeskins is very knowledgeable about magic and the spirits. However, unlike most noble Indians, this knowledge proves to be futile during the ending when Old Lodgeskins asks the spirits that he be killed, but he is not. Third, we have Silas Pendrake, who falls into the category of a preacher man. He is the spiritual leader for his community, and also serves as a spiritual leader for Jack after he is recaptured by the U.S. cavalry. Louise Pendrake is a very unique character. Like Jack, she falls into many different categories, two of which are the preacher's wife as well as the soiled dove. As the preacher's wife, she supports Silas, as well as taking care of Jack and providing him with spiritual guidance. However, she is also very sexually frustrated, and tries to seduce Jack at many different times. Jack finds this hypocrisy too much to bear and ends up running away from the Pendrakes. However, many years later, when he discovers Louise again, he finds out that she has become a prostitute and given up the title of a preacher's wife. After Jack runs away from the Pendrakes, he meets up with Merryweather, who falls into the character type of a snake oil salesman. In fact, he is even called this during the film. Merryweather sells products using ridiculous claims that couldn't possibly be true. In fact, even his customers begin to catch on, and they both tar and feather Merryweather and Jack. Once Jack runs away from his escapades with Merryweather, he reunites with his sister Caroline. Caroline had run away from the Cheyenne tribe soon after they had both been captured. Now, Caroline wants Jack to become a gunslinger, and so Jack obliges. Throughout his time as a gunslinger, he looks up to Wild Bill Hickok, who, ironically enough, falls into the character type of a gunslinger. Wild Bill Hickok is perhaps the greatest gunslinger in the West. However, he soon kills a man in self-defense, which causes Jack to give up his gunslinging ways. Eventually, Jack becomes a mule skinner for Custer and his 7th Cavalry. Custer falls into the character type of a historical figure because he is an actual person from history. Custer is the leader of the 7th Cavalry, which is also an important character type in Western films. The 7th Cavalry is always portrayed in a negative light in Western films, and because of Custer's relationship with the 7th Cavalry, he is also portrayed in a negative light. Furthermore, moving on from character types, let's now talk about setting. Little Big Man, like most Western films, is, unexpectedly enough, set in the West. Furthermore, the majority of its shots are outside, which is a very common setting of many Western films. Also, it deals heavily with the frontier, and deals with a conflict between settlers and Indians. The setting of Little Big Man is very, very typical of most Western films. Also, the story formulas seen in Little Big Man are very stereotypical of the Western genre. Many Western films include sensational adventures, and Jack's stories are definitely quite over the top, so they fit into this category quite well. Also, they deal with cowboys, outlaws, and adventurers, and Jack certainly falls into all of these categories. Lastly, let's talk about themes. Civilization versus wilderness is a major theme in all Westerns, and Little Big Man is not an exception. However, in this specific film, this theme is presented as a reversal of how history played out. In Little Big Man, the Indians are portrayed as much more civil than the white man, and Jack realizes this. In fact, Old Lodgeskins seems to be the only main character besides Jack who still is a noble figure at the end of the movie. The white men and the white women all have less noble endings. Another theme that is more specific to Little Big Man is the theme of moral uncertainty. In an essay written by Avi Weinrib, he talks about how the film serves as a commentary on the Vietnam War and the moral confusion and the upheaval that it caused. An example of this in the film is Louise Pendrake, who serves as a symbol and a teacher of morality. But, however, by the end of the movie, she turns out to be the most promiscuous character. In fact, the natives seem to turn out to be the most morally consistent than any American character, even more so than Jack. Both the theme of civilization versus wilderness and moral uncertainty are both very prevalent in Little Big Man. In conclusion, Little Big Man is a prime example of a Western. While it has many conventions of the Western genre, including character types, settings, story formula, and themes, it does so in a unique way, with a unique plot, breaking the mold of Western genre in certain ways while still retaining the classic Western feel. Little Big Man, undoubtedly, is a little big Western film.